we found a record up at the site where John Chancellor and some Arnold married up there in about 1847, I think it was. We were looking through the paper when it was. Never could figure out who he was.
Like I'm 6, I couldn't tell nothing because I never been up in there.
No, son, no, you heard it.
But he never did tell me nothing about his daddy ever going to die. I don't worry about it.
I wonder why it was.
Well, in this letter, Grandpa said that something about the fight on his daddy's front or something like that. And we wondered where he was.
Your daddy and Tom all went together.
Well, he mentioned Tom in one of his letters.
They was all together. He come back, and Tom never did.
I was thinking it was Tom that went to Louisiana and John that didn't come back.
I was thinking Tom.
Tom was younger than Grandpa anyway.
I told one of my daddy's brothers I was like this, like one of them, he had his dad died. He was kind of cooking and waiting on him for too many years. His wife was endless and he died on that Chancellor's wife. She was hard. She was sick a long time. I know when she died. My mammy, we lived close. My mammy went to the funeral down there to see her. She did.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm talking about. I'm just thinking never be good at it.
Well, I don't know if there was any hard feelings among any of them, but it seemed like they didn't stay in touch with each other.
Just like the rest of us.
Yeah, because I don't know of any hard feelings.
I was big enough to know, I was big enough to flower when they come up there and got her one night. So, out there, and she was about one more to go down there, and she stayed there.
I think I remember you saying you remember your mom and daddy going to our great-granddaddy's funeral. The one that's buried on the old home place over there?
No, I never have William Chancellor.
I think it was his
No.
first wife.
Or was it?
I think so.
But he was living there, you know, he was still. Well, he lived there with the daddy. His backed on the daddy because he was the main worker there, you know. He done most of the farm. After the old his daddy got old and couldn't do that. He could run the business. And he stayed down there after he married. Good many years, 4 or 5 years after he married.
Did you say it was a pretty rocky sort of farm? Did you say it was a sort of rocky farm?
Yeah, he said it was a rough place to live and so. He said he makes anything he plans all the time. But he said it's more rough. These people, when I come along, got big enough, I did that to be courage and stuff like it. I feel like it was. When it got grown and settled, I didn't know that way it was. Now, your daddy, when we lived over here at Sealy, he'd come over home now one night. He'd been on the killer. Tried to get us in the dad to go over there to that place. Chancellors won't good mix somehow or another. They didn't seem to take on to nobody, no big stuff. I don't say they weren't good, smart working people, but they had a little peculiarity.
I think everybody that's ever known a Chancellor was said they were peculiar.
I ain't never seen one yet.
You remember Young Chancellor? Young Chancellor. Married Anna Baseball.
I don't remember.
That was the oldest. Yeah. That's the oldest boy.
I never did know none of them, but you know, that day, playing to them over that borderline. I know these people waiting for a long time.
10 years.
I know him and run up with him, knock around, borderline. He was only one of them in person, I know the family, the boy.
I don't remember that he ever mentioned you to us. I don't know why. I guess we didn't think about it or something.
Well, it's just like I tell you, and that way.
You told us once, I think, about your grandpa telling your daddy about having come down from South Carolina. I think you said it came to Knoxville.
Yeah, mine, you know right, it made the wheels out of pine trees, no wheels out of pine.
I wonder what year that could have been. Is there any idea?
Well, I couldn't tell you that little long.
I know it was long time ago. I was thinking maybe you remember the day.
Let me real one year.
Good one.
You see, all of them come, my granddad is Fowler, all of them come from the same place.
Somewhere out in South Carolina.
They all come here together. And the Baysmore, they come from South Carolina.
What about the man? Did they come?
Yeah, they come too. There's a bunch of them come in now all at one time.
What about the Alex? Do you remember any of them?
Well, I never did hear nobody mention that, man. Of course, there's all skin folks, but I never did hear nobody mention about where they come from. But I think they was originally, they were born and raised in Upton County, right? Right there, this side of 3,000 on the old island place.
Yes, we know where that is.
Well, that's the place that his old man Young, the daddy of all of them,
Yes.
he lived there till his wife died.
Then he moved back over to Crawford County. What Monroe, right close. That's where Uncle Young Chancellor got his name.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, see, he had a lawyer, you know, Young Allen, and old man Allen, he was Granny's lawyer, the old king in town.
Daddy knew him, and I think when we left Jason, we went over there to see him all. Talked on his children or something when we were living there again.
But he was kind of the best lawyer there was in the state. Yeah. Old man Young had plenty of money, education. He practiced law and studied it, but he knows. Oh, yeah, man, Knoxville. No. Fellow lived up there, Thomas and Max Molly. Come down here and work for this judge. No man, they run a government still. They had him down there overseeing, no man John Fowler, no fellow lived there, no bird. But won't allow himself with a 4 a day. But he done been down one got a young Adam down here who was riding in Knoxville to find Jerry. He come down here and said that thing up, sent back. So there was nothing in the world could be done, and he had simply said.
Sure.
And old tail brought out a road, said, old man, now we cut you, you ever got finger in the eye. Run that old boy on that end of the he didn't have no one to wish that they were full of life. I'd be awakened sometimes and maybe go man there more time than him. He really did say, he said he's on the radio now. He said about 10 o'clock when he drove from Fowler. And said he's on the radio. Oh, I've been to Becky with him years. Years, and there, old conductor, years, jolly old fellow.
I believe you said they had real small locomotives on that railroad, didn't they? Didn't they have real small locomotives on that engine?
Everybody went to Macon. They had no automobile, you know, and they went on the go every Saturday. They could get a crowd there. I went lots of Saturdays.
What does that human being do?
This old fellow lived in Rosella named Houston. He lived in there. He never wished he let anybody ever stop.
Frank Newsom?
I reckon he must have been. And me and another fellow had a court up in the running. Well, he asked us for a drink and we give it to him. Well, he didn't ask us no more. He kept on and we got to lie there and it was just about head. Oh, he was funny, you couldn't help him laugh. I didn't care about it. Didn't go in. Elmo and that other boy, we used to go around the whole run. Not go back and spend the night with them. They come down here, not here go around there. They come down there, we go down and find what they're coming. Women is very old and your granddad and man I was raised with. Know them just like a book. They was bakers.
Catherine Baker?
Yeah, they had one named Bill lived in Cologne. They used to live upside what we call the crossroads right in the old place. That's where they lived. Well, old man Barry, he had one of them, and his granddad married right for brother. I can't think of his name.
Who was this feeling now? Who was she?
She was,
Yeah.
Jim bought them slipping the Bible.
Her mother's name was a horn. Her mother was a horn.
No, I don't think wrong. Yeah, yes, boy, she was Adams and Jeff and all of the sisters. There was just one girl in the two families. There was one in the daddy and there was one in the dad. 10 miles from me and never did, you know.
Aren't we all related to the Fowler over there at Jackson, or Jackson?
Who?
Aren't we related?
Yeah.
To Clay Fowler somewhere?
Yeah. You're right. Till Robert died, he married the girl I'm talking. He had more power. She buried, all of them buried there. He got on his freedom.
Come on, if they just have dancers over there.
Really, Mom has over here. He got Brady taken down there one night and I went with him. They had some dames out there you. They didn't pay anything. That fellow was there.
Yes, and that was, I think Banks, right?
Now, he knows more about it. He could have carried us right up out of that place. We asked him, he done.
We should have gone up there that same day.
He told me, he said, it's right up the road.
That road we came down is where, he said it was somewhere up that road.
He said that was not the place at all where we were going. He said that was the bad place. He said he was born right there on that place, on that bad place where that house was torn down. And he said Chad's place joined the back of it right up here. And I don't know why come we didn't have
We should have asked him, going up that short way.
short for it. House, though.
Yes, he was real nice.
My father, William Chancellor, his brothers, Elmo and Charlie, about the old Allen place in Upson County, near Old Arnold Church. Daddy's grandma, as he called her, one day she was working in the house and began to hear beautiful soft music. She didn't know where it came from. So she went to the window and looked out, and between two of the tall cedar trees in the yard, there was a great casket. She didn't know what it meant or anything, but the legend says that a few weeks later someone in the family died and was buried in a great casket.
I remember Aunt Vic, well, she was our great aunt, telling this about 1924, 1925, when she was visiting us in Sandy. It happened down at the old place where they lived near Lumber City. Mama called it Aunt Vic's old house. Anyway, her cousin Emily was staying with her, and during the night Aunt Vic woke up and realized the door was open, and went to close it and saw her cousin Emily standing at the door in her nightgown striking matches. Aunt Vic assumed she was simply walking in on sleep and didn't want to wake her suddenly, so she got up behind cousin Emily and blew out the matches as she struck her. Cousin Emily turned to Aunt Vic and said, Vic, don't be blowing out my matches. I'm trying to light the way for Mama to come into the house.
This is something that happened to me about 7 or 8 years ago. I wrote some letters one afternoon, and instead of getting the mail right away, I kept them. And a friend came by, and she was on her way to go out shopping or go to the post office or something. I don't remember exactly, but I asked her if she could mail my letters for me. And I know that one of them was to Clint's mother. So I gave her the letters and didn't hear any more, didn't think any more about it, but then I dreamed that she had not mailed my letters, that she had forgotten them, another one of the stories that Daddy and Uncle Elmore and Charlie would tell. That at the old Chancellor home place, this peddler came by in a wagon with scrap metal and junk, and he was going to places to stay for the night. And they, of course, being country people, they took him in for the night and told him that he should put his wagon in the barn to keep it from being stolen. And the man replied, "There's no point in that." He went out in the yard and took a stick and drew a big circle around his wagon. And he said, "Forget it." So the next morning when they got up soon after daylight, the wagon was still in the front yard, and there was a man walking around inside the circle with a piece of the metal on his shoulder. And he couldn't step over the circle. He just kept walking around and around inside, couldn't get out of the circle. And the man who the wagon belonged to told him, he said, "If you'll put that metal down, it doesn't belong to you. Put it down and you can get out." The man put the metal down and stepped over the circle and walked away.
That new kind of tell the strangely more. What's that now? The demonology or whatever they call it?
We were recording ghost stories.
Yeah. You want to pay it on? Oh. Well, come and tell a ghost story. What are you doing? Come on, Reverend. Tell one. Oh, yes, you do. Mommy and Daddy, that's what we're putting on. Well, that tells them one about the things on the stars.
Margaret, who remembers that one, Dad? That was to go around the house and be built on the trellis first by himself.
This one happened when Uncle Charlie and his first wife Zilla were living, I believe, out in Monroe County. I think at the old Allen place. In any case, Aunt Zilla went to the field to take Uncle Charlie some water, locked the house very carefully, bolted the windows and so on before she left. When she got back about an hour or so later, everything that was on the dresser had been carefully placed on the floor, on the dresser because nobody had moved anything else in the house. The door was still locked and all the windows were locked.
Yeah. Oh, I know someone about Mom told me that.
Oh, and in Reverend stories, I
You know that one? Why would you tell that one? We got everybody a little bit close. Yeah, so, you know,
just all that time,
About
place,
an hour.
In the early 30s, Mama was standing on the back porch late one afternoon, looking out across the pasture at the back in the garden. She saw there, wasn't that the way it was? With all the detail and the old-fashioned vehicles parked around, the wagons and buggies, and the people dressed in their old-fashioned clothes going in and out, and hoop skirts and things like that. Anyway, it persisted for a few seconds and went away. Yeah, and you know how utterly true she was. She just did not much of her whole imagination.
and I wonder if there had been a church there back of that pasture. Something flashed back in time somehow.
wow.
I think we have racial.
I'm glad Reverend mentioned that.
Yes, I have.
That's what now.
That's one of my things. Knowing Mama, you know, I know that one's got to be a real one. There's no question in Mama.
This was coming down to anything first time. From Stanley was big, it was real small. In case we should, when we first got there was no one in the place, so we looked around some to try to find somebody to let us in the place. The caretaker was gone. People down the road suggested we just go in the house, go in the yard and look around. Mom and Daddy and all Janice standing out there. Anyway, they went, by they I mean, all except, all the rest went to the other side of the house, and we heard, well, they said they heard a knock. And me and Lori remarked to Mama, well, mine was, Jim and all that knock. Anyway, that night I called home, so we were talking about it. Oh, no, excuse me. That night Lori and I were talking about it, and she said she wondered why in the world I was doing all that knocking. I said, you doing a knock? She said it sounded like somebody knocking on a door with a pocket knife. That was slight static. Because I didn't hear the knocking. I remember we heard some glass breaking. We never could find any glass broken around that place.
I heard somebody going up the steps. Thought was standing. Thought was standing because I mean, I heard the footsteps. I said, I was standing in one of those high steps that we took off right. And Mama said, was standing over here on the ground waiting for the sun. But I heard those footsteps just as clearly as if I were walking there. No wonder you all got with Daddy high, doesn't it? This time, the knocking was going on. Mama and the children and I were over on one side of the house. You remember we were back to back right then. And Mom and Dad were up toward the front on the other side. Out of Jim's range. And we all heard the knocking. It sounded as though he was using his pocket knife and he was knocked 6 times. Where were you today?
I was looking up, I started out through the gate to see if there was anybody that was doing that. I thought I could call. But nobody was doing that, so I just
Nobody driven up, nobody knocked, nobody home.
nobody knocked. I mean, I did not knock.
You heard somebody saying to call you.
Oh. I haven't heard that. I haven't
Well,
either.
it's not particularly weird, but this must have been about 1925, 26, late in the afternoon. Cat was missing. Down by the cemetery to see if I could find somebody. I don't know who. I stopped and said, sir. All right. I didn't hear anything else but a little sharp home.
That sounds weird to me. Boy.
Well, the mom and them said that, well, maybe it was with the local McKinley looking for Thomas Kinley. Oh, wasn't even home at the time. I don't know who it was. I know it was near the cemetery. I know I didn't.
Maybe your cat was doing that.
Boy.
Someone, some aunt or something, who had a dream that she looked at those cars before looking at them. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes, that was Aunt Becky again. That's hard. I was trying to watch it. Anyway, I think it was late at night. She was going out to the storage room to pick up some supplies for the next day. And she would usually go straight across the porch there. But this time she decided not to go that way and went around another way. A week or so later, a nigger was arrested and confessed that he was waiting under that porch. Had a knife and killed Aunt Becky. She was going around that way. Something told her not to go that way. So we should play our monkeys sometime.
Yes.
Yes, Miss Williams told me.
She had a cross from his
inside the buggy for quite a while, and when it came to a forward, the dog looked like it walked through the buggy wheels and disappeared on the other side, and Grandma never saw it. You remember that one, Ray?
You remember one about neck rabbits of some kind with neck rabbits with this huge animal that had to be, well, they told it the eyes were the biggest saucers. I think it was a slight exaggeration, but really they sounded like they were big as $7. He scared the life out of them, but I can't remember any details.
Going down the street, I don't know, that's all right.
Anyway, he kept getting closer to it, I believe, and finally disappeared. He wasn't getting anything whatsoever. No tracks or anything. I don't know if he came up with the details.
That's going to be some of those bands, I'll tell you.
About him, there's something around, there's driving in Buddy Way. Something his mom told him to go the wet way instead of the dry way. He's going to go the dry way, so he went the muddy way and he found $10 bill.
That was your granddaddy. He told me that one time. He started to go around one way around the depot, I believe it was, and he found $10. He went the other way. Something told him to go this way, and he found $10.
You didn't record that, did you?
Well, I like to hear that one again.
It came at one of their old brakemen slipped on the train and cut off his head. Of course, he had his landing, you know, and the landing didn't go out. The landing out there. Still go up there certain days, place and see the brakeman hunting for his head out there in the landing. The landing going up and down the track.
They take pictures of the light. The light has to do. They have to take pictures of the light.
I'm not there recording right there.
I heard his wife was looking for him. Cheryl was her boyfriend, Kenny and Judy following.
Did they see it?
Well, that time they
Wow.
told Jim about that. To me, I don't know. I can't remember. I can't believe that we could have been as frightened as we were, unless something really had happened. It was one little girl saying, "I can't remember now who it was." Can you, Jim?
No,
And I
I
thought,
don't know. Shepherd girl.
no, it wasn't the Shepherd girl, but she lived way up at the end of one of the streets there in Yatesville. And we had been to her house. I think she had been at our house. We went back to her house for something. And her family was not at home. Nobody at home. But there was a big pear trunk, and it was just loaded with pears. And we went in the house, and I think we probably got something to eat. And we came out the back door and walked around to the front of the house, and there was not a pear on that tree. It was empty. And we both saw it at the same time. And we said, "What happened to the pears?" And somebody or something said, "I did it," or something. I can't remember exactly, but somebody screamed. And this had happened in a matter of just maybe 5 minutes or so. And it frightened us so bad, we took off running down the street there. We went down to the, what were Mama's good friends, McDonald's. And it was after their house had burned up. And they were living in that little new house they had built right there for the other one had burned down. And we went running in, and they said, "What on earth's wrong?" Because I guess we apparently looked very frightened. And we told them about it. Somebody had taken all the pears on the tree. They did it. To me, I remember that just well last and it just happened. It really shook us up.
Plus the duck eating was good. It sounded like the devil. I did it. I would have
I had told Jim and Lorene about it prior to that marriage. Give me put that in there. What's the way in order to figure out what year it was? Into Virginia to see Lula's family, and on their way home they came through Charleston, and I was telling them of a dream that I had had. I dreamed that Mrs. O'Neill and Carol and I were going into our church with mop buckets and mops to mop the church. Why, I don't know. I don't remember the dream that far. But there were crowds of people shocked, and I walked on down the aisle of the church. When I got in front of the church, there was a white casket there. And Jim was sitting beside it alone, crying. There wasn't anybody with him. And the dream just ended like that. And a few weeks later, Janice got married, so maybe that bears out the idea, the dream of death and there's a marriage.
Jim losing his little girl.
Well, what are they on? They can see that.
Maybe it's true.
Here's breathing upstairs.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not listening to this. No way.
Well, this is something that I can swear to. I have slept upstairs in the Chancellor house in Juliet, in the room that is to the left of the stairs, at the top of the stairs, and have been in the bed and have heard someone standing beside my bed breathing over me. And if you don't think it scares you to death, you ought to have it happen to you.
It scares me.
It has happened more than once. It didn't happen just once. It happened so many times. The last time it happened, I got up, took my pillow, and I went downstairs and got in the bed with my mother, and after that, I didn't care. I didn't listen anymore. Oh, yes, Reverend said he heard it several times. Or David declared he heard it. Oh, I had Glenn, too.
Yeah, one person died.
Oh, this is the house. Oh, Mark's going back to your ghost and sits on your bed at home. Oh, that's sound like a barefooted man walking down the hall from the back bedroom to the bathroom door. You never hear him return. You never hear any other sound other than the sound of walking. But at three different times, I waked up at night. But one night we had a Siamese cat that was bad about getting on the bed, and I didn't like her to get on my bed. And I felt the side of the bed go down. And I woke up fussing, who left Molly in the house again? And I get up to put Molly out, and there's no Molly in the house. And I was very, very definitely felt it. And then I was on graveyard shift sleeping in the daytime. The same thing happened with me sleeping in the daytime. The side of the bed just goes down like somebody's sitting on the side of the bed. Somebody's sitting on the bed. And then I made her, she's in the same bedroom. And she said that she was afraid to leave and afraid to stay there. She Bill heard the footsteps one night. Yeah, Bill was an unbeliever. And one night I had a migraine headache and had been to the doctor and had a knockout shot, and Bill was staying up to be sure that I was all right. And he heard the footsteps come down the hall to the bathroom, and he waited to see it, to ask me how I was feeling. And when I didn't return from the bathroom, he got up to check on me. And when he got up to check on me, so I wasn't in the bathroom. He comes on the bedroom, and I'm sound asleep, knocked out. So Bill has heard it. And Ellen doesn't know about this one. I had to scare Ellen now. One night, Ellen was sick, and I woke up thinking I heard her call Mama. So I turned on the light and went to her bedroom door, and I said, Ellen, what is it? And she said, I'm sick. Why didn't you come the first time I called you? And I said, you didn't call me but once. She said, I called you. You were standing right there in the door. I saw you. Oh, I was talking to you. But I didn't get up. That was the first time I had been up. So Ellen very definitely saw somebody standing in that doorway. I remember that very distinctly. But Ellen thought that it was me and told me that she thought that I was standing in the doorway. She saw somebody standing in the doorway to her room, and there were no lights. I flicked my light on. We hear it, not at any special time or any special person. Well, did you say there was a church there at that time? Yeah, at the front of the lawn. No, just a church. We've got an abstract deed, but it doesn't go back to 1970. So what was on that property prior to 1970, we don't know. And we know that it happened because the little dog threw her on the hall about 10 o'clock one night. She screamed out like somebody had kicked her or hit her. She runs into the bathroom, cowering with her tail tucked under her legs, and goes as far back in the corner as she could get, just yipping and taking on, and she wouldn't let anybody pick her up. Ellen had to go in and pet her and talk to her before she would come out. So she met something or somebody in the hall, because there wasn't any of us in the hall at the time. Like that, lots of people that don't believe that they do. I don't know anymore. I'm just trying to scare her perspective. Well, Emma has tried to hear it. She looked up, hoping that she could hear it at night. She's been over there. But it doesn't walk at any particular time. Shall we tell the night that Mama's registration was more that was no human that scared Mama and I silly that night. Oh, that's right. Emma was there too. So this happened back in about 1950, 51. It was summer before Craig. It was summer 1951. I was staying in Juliet with Mama, and Amber and I were in the house one night, alone except for the little dog, Foxy. And sometime during the night, Mama and I both awakened with a start, having heard some kind of a noise upstairs. And it sounded to us like somebody had bumped into Amber's little metal dollhouse up there. And it was enough that it woke both of us up, so we were both frightened, and we whispered to each other to see that the other one was awake, and lay there terrified, not knowing what to do, and finally decided our best bet was to get out of the house. So Mama picked up the poker, and I that was there. I've forgotten what it was. And I picked Clellan up. He was just a little fella, and we opened the door, and Mama took Amber, I guess, by the hand or something, and we opened the door to the bedroom, listened, and during this time, the dog, Foxy, had been barking. He heard something. He knew something. But then he ran up the stairs, and he came back cowed. Something had frightened the dog. And we don't know whether it was human or not, but we opened the door and got out, feeling very thankful to be out with our skins. And we went over to the Gallagher's and told them about it, and Mr. Gallagher went and got Ed Williams, and the two of them went back and looked through the house, and they couldn't find anything or anybody in the house anywhere. And they said it must have been a cat, but there were no cats in the house either. The dust was disturbed. Well, that's what they did. When we were starting out, I think probably that we did. Well, we were terrified. We didn't think it was anything inhuman, though. We thought it was a human that was up there. Maybe whoever it was as afraid of it as we were.
I think you said kind of loud that you were leaving the house.
Right, yes, we did. We thought. Mama got my car keys, so we'd be sure to have car keys, but she left my billfold right there beside her on the dresser. But it was still there. Nobody had disturbed it either. Sometime later, we found beside the back door step the dog tag, like it had been broken off the chain, and it was of a man from, I think, Fort Campbell, Kentucky, and we wondered then if maybe this man had gone into the house while we were away that afternoon and maybe hidden under the bed and woke up during the night and decided to make his escape. Scared everybody out there. Yeah. Scared him and maybe as much as he did us. I remember that very well.
Like they're scaring me.
Oh, buddy.
Well, I don't know whether it was a ghost or who it was, but it was cold this particular night, and we just put a blanket across the Everything's smooth. They're sounding good.
Ducks the other way. About what? What particular about the Indian Braves up there? Or what? Yes, this old Macintosh house, so-called Indian Springs, has a long history of going back to the 1820s, I guess, when the stagecoach stopped. Anyway, in one room of the house is dark stains on the floor, and I think on the wall too. I'm not sure about that. But in any case, the two Indian Braves killed each other there with knives. They couldn't get the blood out of the stains. The stains are still there, you see. And I hope in time they'll make that state park.
This is one of the family, and one of the ghost stories, but one of the family tales that I've heard a number of times about Mama Franklin and her selling her diamond ring in the cafe. Y'all can tell that one.
Yeah, this is in the depths of the Depression, as I remember. She had a solitaire diamond engagement ring. She would always make it when she went out to milk the cow. She missed the ring, missed the stone out of it after she had milked the cow that night. She took the bead away from the poor old cow, came back to the house and went through it piece by piece. I guess it was after midnight she finally found the stone.
She had all of us looking everywhere, retracing her steps, her apron pockets, everything she had on. She went through all that, and all of us had gone through the cow feed, all the children, each one had to take a handful and go through it, and she even had the neighbors help. And Daddy had given up and gone to bed. Mama said she was going to try one more time, and she spread the cow feed out on papers all over the floor and went through it piece by piece until nearly midnight. She spotted this diamond, and she went over and woke up the neighbors that had helped her to tell them about finding that diamond, because it was more than a carat diamond, and it was in the depth of the Depression. It was really worth some money, and Mama was thinking about the idea of that much money being thrown away, and she looked at it. She just looked for it until she found it. So I guess you call it perseverance. So
It's good. Like the parable in the Bible of the lost girl. Tell people about ghost stories. I think you tell the one about Mama making biscuits. I've told that to people and they think that's the funniest thing they ever heard of. When she first married, they lived there in the old Williams house there in Julia, and she was not used to cooking much, and she made biscuits one day, and they didn't turn out like she thought they ought to. They looked pretty awful, so she didn't want Daddy to come home and find them. Didn't want him to see what a mess she'd made, so she decided she would burn them, because she's afraid to give them to the pigs, because she's afraid to make the pigs sick. So she decided she'd burn them up, so she put them in the fire and they wouldn't burn. Made such a mess, she finally scraped it all out and took it out and buried it out in the yard somewhere. She used to tell that on herself, and she got as much fun out of it as anybody did.
Daddy told not long before he died, he got to reminiscing. We were all there. The last time that we saw him well, and he was sitting on the front porch, and we just got talking, and the more he talked, the more he got reminiscing, and he was saying that he could remember somebody in his family talking about that the Allens and the Chancellors came to Macon. When Macon was called Newtown, it was just a stagecoach stop of people going on further into Georgia and into Alabama, and these people, the Chancellors and Allens, were camped out near Newtown, and somebody hollered to ask somebody else's file. But being from North Carolina, they were saying fall instead of fire. And one of the other neighbors misunderstood what was saying. They said, oh, well, a bar's got Matthew, a bar's got Matthew. Daddy laughed when he cried. He was telling me, but that day he just sat and reminisced, and he was telling about things like that. But he said that he just a flash in memory, I guess, that he had heard them. But instead of saying fire, fail. But they call it hard fall. One bar's a fall, and somebody else said, oh, the bar's got Matthew, the bar's got Matthew. All right, long as you hadn't done any talking, you doing
Oh, I'm on the record. I'll take, it's 2 or 3 weeks ago when we first started talking about having a get-together here. Well, Alma came, but she came by herself. She didn't bring Julian. We found out after she got here that she and Julian had been separated for 6 months. She hadn't told anybody. And Alma, I said, you think that you were writing in the family letter about Julian's red socks matching the door to the church. That's all I think. I don't know what in the world.
They haven't done that. They haven't done
They
it.
have. Well, that's good.
They don't go to your tree.
That's when we'll down it.
What? Your imagination is very well.
It's getting pretty good when you see them looking in the window there.
Daddy told me that when he last spoke. Daddy was telling about, I think what got it started, he was telling about something that happened in the family. And he was talking about Jeffy, the oldest Chancellor grandchild. And then he got laughing talking about his brother, Young, who was Jeffy's father. And he said there's a crowd of young people there at their house on Sunday afternoon, as it usually was. And Daddy being the youngest, he was the butt of the older boys' jokes. And they teased Daddy about being a little girl because in those days the boys still wore aprons until they started school. And they kept calling Daddy a little girl, saying Daddy was a little girl. And but they didn't wear anything under the aprons either. And so when they teased Daddy enough about that he was a little girl, he lifted up his apron and showed them. And he broke up together.
Oh, Dad, how?
You have any to add to it?
Come on, Dad. Remember those that you heard up at the cabin? But we've already told that one about that house. House, remember? Well, that is. Come on, Dad. Yes. Come on, and just stop that. Yes, it did. Remember up at the cabin? You know,
Late time, they told the husband, I didn't know, they weren't my tales, I didn't remember it.
Alma might have put it in family history, but one night Daddy was, and Mama was telling that they had gotten loans to go through the Confederate money and divide it up as evenly as he could for the 6 children. And Daddy was reminiscing again, and he was telling us about his uncle that was wounded in Tennessee in the fight, and he later developed Virginia in the wilderness fighting, and his parents were so concerned about him and no way to get him home. So after the crops were planted in the spring, they went to they took the spring wagon. Daddy called it a spring wagon. I don't know the difference from wagon, but Daddy said that his parents took the spring wagon and drove the horse and wagon to Virginia and got him and brought him back in the wagon, and when they got back, it was time to gather fall crops. That was yellow. I just thought we might put that one down.
That when Elizabeth Chancellor was dying, that grandpa and another man was sitting up with her, and they heard loud noise like a bell of cotton being blown down the steps. And they never did find out what was the cause of that.
That was just old Allen.
Another unexplained thing at Allen.
And there's another one that Daddy took us there to the old Allen place one time. He was laughing about, he called Uncle Young's widow Sis Anna because they were so much older than he was. He called her Sis Anna. And a brush fire got started. And it burned across the cemetery, family cemetery, at the back of the house, at the back of the yard near the woods. The fire got started, and Sis Anna started laughing. And said, well, I guess the people that's buried there know what it's going to be like in the hereafter. Daddy told us that one when he went, same time he told him about the goat cart. He was telling Glenn them that. And he was telling us how huge the kitchen was, the old Allen house. That the kitchen was underneath. It was underneath and to the back. And he said that the fireplace was so big, it roasted a calf in the fireplace itself.
What's the underground?
It was more or less Musella.
You can still see that. Depression and all that. What a song.
Well, that day, I guess Daddy might have been in a reminiscent mood, or the boys were just interested in what he was telling. But he was telling them what that kitchen looked like. Underneath, it wasn't underneath the house itself. It was more or less back, I guess, to keep catching the house on fire. But the chimney must have been a part of the house itself by it having such a huge fireplace. A cooking, Daddy called it a cooking place.
How come they call it the old Allen house?
Older than the Allen.
First trip we made down to Musella, the old house, we went out to the family cemetery there. The old custom was to put shells, seashells that is, on the corners of the graves. And one of the shells was real loose. The cemetery was going up, so we thought there wouldn't be any harm to take the shell off as large as in your hand. Bring it home with us. We got it home, but I haven't seen it since. Well, what king? Lord, he's there. Besides, Mr. Wolf came back and got the shell. We better not be bothered. If you check the grave and see if it's back. If it's there, I'm going to leave it there. Absolutely. Wolf must have been a terror.
You know,
a light is seen across the fields and the edge of the swamps that bobs along just about waist high. And some people say that it's foxfire or swamp fire or St. Elmo's fire. But the people that live around there or have lived around there don't say that. They say that it's William stalking his acres, which would make it William III. Ghost still walking around his land, checking on his land in that area. And it's been seen by more than one person, which would be Uncle Elmo and Loris and Garrett, that I know of, and Daddy, that I know of that have seen it. This is not a story. I just have to get some of my relationship straight here. I've forgotten. Uncle Elmo was how much older than Daddy? About 4 years older. So I guess they were pretty close.
Yes, so probably.
Well, where who was his? Did he have more than one wife?
Ada was his first wife, and Kathleen's wife.
Not down at the bottom of the stairs. It would have been down there. I don't know how you were screaming at that. I see that house.
Back in that room, that's where the
All right, midnight. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
One more time.
biting on his daddy's front or something like that. And we wondered where he was.
Your daddy and Tom all went together.
Well, he mentioned Tom and one of his left.
Yeah, they were all together. He come back, Tom never did.
I was thinking it was Tom that went to Louisiana and John that didn't come back. Tom was younger than Grandpa anyway.
I told one of my daddy's brothers I was never did something about it. Question about it. Like this, like her, told one of them, she was sick. He had his dad died. He was kind of cooking and waiting on him for a good many years. His wife was the endless when he died, old man Chancellor's wife, obviously in the horn. She was sick a long time. I know when she died. My mammy, we lived close. My mammy went to the funeral down there to see her when she was dead.
That was a long time ago.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. I'm a judge for you never be good at.
Well, I don't know if there was any hard feelings among any of them, but it seemed like they didn't stay in touch with each other.
Just like the rest of us.
Yeah, well, because I don't know of any hard feelings.
I was big enough to know I was big enough to flower when they come up there and got her one night and told out my daddy that she was about to one more to go down there and she stayed with me.
I think I remember you saying you remember your mom and daddy going to our great-granddaddy's funeral. The one that's buried on the old home place over there?
No, I never had William Chancellor.
I think it was his
No.
dad's wife.
So was that?
I think.
Oh.
But he was living there, you know, he was well, he was living there with my daddy. It backed on my daddy because he was the main worker there, you know. He done the most of the farm. After the old his daddy got old and he couldn't do that, he could run the business. And he stayed down there after he married. Good many years, 4 or 5 years after he married.
Didn't you say it was a pretty rocky sort of farm? Did you say it was a sort of rocky farm?
Yeah, he said it's a rough place, really tough. But he said he makes anything he plans all the time. But he said it's more out like that place. But these people, when I come along, got thinking, I did that and he could and stuff. I feel like it was. I got grown, etc. I did not know that way. Your daddy, when we lived over here at Seaweed, he's come over home now one night. He's been on the jury. Tried to get us in the dad to go over there to that place. He wouldn't go. I don't know what it was.
I wondered about that. I don't know why they didn't want any closer than they wanted.
It's like I told you, you know, the chances won't good mix somehow or another. They didn't seem to take on to nobody, no big stuff. I don't say they weren't good, smart working people, but they had a little peculiarity.
I think everybody that's ever known a Chancellor said they were peculiar.
I ain't never seen one of I never didn't know none of them but know Daddy lived. I got acquainted with him over that Moran. I know these people engaged me for a long time.
10 years.
I know him and run up with him lots of times around Moran. He was all one of them in person. I know the family and boys.
I don't remember that he ever mentioned you to us. I don't know why. I guess we didn't think about it or something.
Well, it's just like a treasure. It's had that way.
You told us once, I think, about your grandpa telling your daddy about having come down from South Carolina. I think you said they came to Knoxville.
Yeah, mine. You know right. They made the wheels out of pine trees. So the wheels out of pine trees.
I wonder what year that could have been. Is there any idea?
Well, I couldn't tell you that very well.
I know it was a long time ago. I was thinking maybe you remember the day.
It's been real 100 years.
Good one.
You see, all of them come, my granddad is Fowler, all of them come from the same place.
Somewhere out in South
They
Carolina.
all come here together. And the Baysmore, they come from South Carolina.
What about the men? Did they come?
Yeah, they come too. There's a bunch of them come in now all at one time.
What about the Allen? You remember any of them?
Well, I never did hear nobody mention that, man. Of course, there was all kinfolk, but I never did hear nobody mention about where they come from. But I think they was originally, they was born and raised up town, right there, this side of Cleveland Fowler, on the old Island Place.
Yes, we know where that is.
Well, that's the place that his old man Young, the daddy of all of them,
Yes.
he lived at his lifetime.
Then he moved back over to Crawford County. Monroe, right close. That's where Uncle Young Chancellor got his name.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you see, he had a lawyer, young Allen, and old man Allen, he was the grandest lawyer that ever been in town.
Daddy knew him, and I think when we left Jason, he went over there to see him or talk on his children or something when we were living in the
But he was kind of the best lawyer that ever in the state. Yeah. Old man Young had plenty of money, educated him. He practiced law and studied it, so he knows. Oh, yeah, that man Knoxville. No. Fellow lived up there, Thomas and McFarlane. Come down here and work for this judge. No man, they run a good Reliability named Houston. Used to live in there. He never wished he had anybody ever saw.
Brian Newsom.
I reckon he must have been. And me and another fellow out of court up in the right. Well, he asked us for a drink and we give it to him. But he didn't ask us no more. He kept on and we got the liability and we just about made. Oh, he was funny, you couldn't help him laugh. I didn't care about it. Didn't worry about it. Elmo and that other boy, we used to go around the whole lot. Not go back and spend the night with them. They'd come down here, not here around. They'd come down there, we'd go down and find them what they're called. Women is very old and your granddad and man, I was raised with them. I know them just like a book. They were bakers.
Mrs. Catherine Baker.
Yeah, and there's one named Bill lived in Cologne. They used to live up there at what we call the crossroads right in the Woody place. That's where they lived. Well, old man Barry, he made one of them, and his granddad had one. But she didn't live long. She was out over that evening, she was over very old, and then she died that night. She got in the bug and went home, looked this way, and died that night. She had some kind of, I don't know, it was kind of a heart attack or something.
Daddy thought that was Kitty, I believe.
But old man Barry, he died, and his wife married again. She married I know who she married, but I can't call his name now. She's very old, and she had one boy that they married, and he went back, and he was 40, and Becky just died. She always neglected him. My greatest boy, he recollects him just well as he is. Greatest lives back in there. He was a boy like 7 years. He knows all of it.
Catherine, she lived over near Barnesville between Barnesville and Cologne on number 7 highway.
Not that I ever know it.
When we lived in Dixon, we went to see some chancellors.
How they could have lived, and I wouldn't know.
Sure, I understand. But I didn't know whether you might have known some that lived, I think, between Barnesville and Cologne on number 7 highway.
Now, it could have been Jim or Adams, and some of them had to. Could have done that before they moved. Well, you see, there was a girl in that crowd, City, they called her. So she married well down at Fort Travis. I can't think of his name.
Who was this feeling then? Who was she?
She was Jim involved in them slipping the Bible.
Her mother's name was a horn. Her mother was a horn.
No, I don't think so. Yeah, yes, she was. She was
we all related to the Fowler over there at Jackson, or Jackson.
Who?
Aren't we related?
Yeah.
Clay Fowler somewhere?
Yeah. Anyway, till Robert died there, he married the girl I'm talking about. He married more Fowler. She's buried all of the bed there with that orange freedom.
Don't know that they used to have dances over there.
Really, long hairs over here. He got British taken down there one night and I went and looked. They had some dance, I'll tell you. They didn't pay anything. That fellow was here.
Yes, and that was, Henry Banks, right?
Now, he knows more about it. He could have carried her right up there to that place. We asked him, he done it.
We should have gone on up there that same day.
He told me, he said, "Oh,
That road we came down is where, he said it was somewhere up that road.
he said that was not the place at all where we was on. He said that was the dancing place. But he said he was born right there on that place, on that dancing place where that house was torn down. And he said the chance place joined the back of it right up here. And I don't know why come we didn't have
We should have asked him, let's go on up that